right, Town Council regular meeting, May 15, 2025, Cape Charles Civic Center. Can I get a roll call, please?
Holloway present.
Buckles present.
Grossman present.
Ashworth present.
All right, let it be known we've established a quorum, and if we could, what's that? Oh, hold on, we'll wait for, go ahead and bring in.
Newman present.
There we go, thank you. All right, we still have established a quorum. If we could all rise for a moment of silence and pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, we're going to start off with some recognition of some visitors' presentations this evening. First off, we will have Ryan from the Cape Charles Volunteer Fire Department. Right?
Yep.
Oh, you are up.
There we go. That was easy enough.
You are Ryan, right?
I question that some days. Okay, so I want this to be an open forum, so if anybody has, I know we have some new members here, any questions, how we're doing things, anything you see in the presentation, please feel free to stop me and ask away. So just going into kind of our command structure, so Jay Bell is our chief, Jeb Brady, which also works for the town, is our deputy chief, Matt Pruitt is our assistant chief, president is Bill Powell, and then I'm the treasurer. Just a brief history for some of you that are new to council. We've been in existence since the 1890s. So basically since the town was founded, there has been a volunteer fire company in Cape Charles. Now, until the early 1900s, that was all founded through the railroads. That was the primary need for a fire company. The first alarm bell in town was a bent railroad tie, and they just rang it like a bell. Our first board elections were around 1907, and then we are incorporated in today's iteration of the company in 1921. So that kind of is a brief history of, we've always been volunteer and hope to continue to be. And then going next into our coverage area, we are what's called a mutual aid fire department. So Cape Charles has a first due district, and we respond to every single call in that district. And then we have mutual aid, which is Sheridan and Eastville. So depending on what type of call it is, they'll dispatch additional stations of residential fires. If it's a commercial fire, they go all the way up to Nassawadox and Exmoor. So depending on the type of call, they continually dispatch to make sure we have enough resources on site to take care of those.
Sorry.
Brian, could you please pause for a second? We're trying to get Councilman Buda on.
Phone button. I've seen the phone button. Yeah, that's call. That's call. Ken, are you there? No, he's not there.
You hung up on him, Adam.
Here we go. I got it. It didn't come up answer last time.
Just note that when we get started, he needs to announce where he's from, because he said that he's participating.
Hi, Ken.
Hey, yes. If you could just quickly just announce where you're from and state your name and all that other fun stuff.
Ken Buda calling from Hilton Head, South Carolina.
Thank you. Bummer, dude. Sorry, Red.
Thank you, Colin.
All right. So going into, it may be in your packet, but it's also on the screen, kind of what our first due area is. And when I say first due, like I said, everything that is called in that area, we get dispatched. So obviously the town of Cape Charles is in the top left, and the right is our first due. So basically from the Sheridan Light all the way to the first portal on the bridge is our first due response area. We actually are second due for the entire Bay Bridge Tunnel. We actually had a call 2 months ago where they had a fire on the bridge that we got called in for tankers. And then the bottom left is our second due. That, so if it's some type of structure fire, it would be Sheridan, Eastville, and ourselves would get dispatched all the way up to Bird's Nest. And depending on what type of call it can be, we got called into the chicken fire up the shore a couple days ago for tankers. So We have something called a tanker task force outside of, let's see, Eastville, Exmoor, Cape Charles, and a couple of the shore. It's all tanked in water. There's no hydrants to pull water off of. So our total area is about 39.5 square miles for our first due. So pretty big response area. Some of the challenges we're starting to face just with the population growing and then the tourists that are coming into the area. In off-season, we have about 5,500 people that are full-time. In high season, that goes to 12 to 13,000. So that's where our challenges are starting to come in. The month of June last year, we had over 50 calls that month. So that's challenging for us. We're all full-time employed, have kids. So that's where some of the challenges that, as we continue to grow as a community, that we're starting to see some needs for some, I don't know what that's going to be resource-wise, if that's a recruitment drive or what we're going to do to start filling those gaps. But other stations are getting called in as well to start filling that gap. Just some numbers, just in the town of Cape Charles from 2018 to 2024, we've added 261 new homes and 5 commercial buildings with additional 29 housing units. So that's just in the town of Cape Charles. You start looking now what's going on in Tower Hill, they're building like crazy out there. And then we also add in Highway 13, which last year they had over 4 million cars travel through the area. So that's going back into our response area for automobile accidents is a big part of our calls now. By the numbers, we had 270 calls in calendar year 24. There's a split out of fire and then others, automobile accidents, hazardous conditions. We get a lot of med assist where maybe the EMS needs help getting a patient out of the home into their ambulance. And in 24, we had 43% of our calls were within the town of Cape Charles. Kind of going through the volunteer hours, you can look through this, but we estimate we had around 2,300 volunteer hours in calendar year 24. So that'd be probably 10 to 12 people. We have 25 members, but we have 10 to 12 that are consistent responding to calls. People like myself as treasurer, Jay, our chief, we do a lot of our maintenance in-house that we can do. So there's a lot of background work, not just going to calls. There's a lot of other stuff that goes in planning as well. So funding sources, this one caveat here, this does not include the $250,000 grant from the town. So I just want to make that clear before I go through this. We had 5% were donations. We have been doing letter drives and those have not been as successful in years past. We've been working with the county to get those addresses to send those out to. So this year we're going to try possibly working with the town, and we're wondering with some of these second homes in Cape Charles if the bills aren't going, or the letters aren't going to the right place to ask for those donations. So we're going to look at where we're getting that information from. Northampton County gave us $75,000, which is their annual contribution. The town of Cape Charles is $50,000, which is what the annual contribution was last year. For those that are new to council, the way that we're funded from the town, we apply for a grant every year as a nonprofit. We are a 501(c)(3), so that's currently how we get our funding from the town. We had a pass-through grant for $15,000 that we get year over year. And then we also get a percentage, I don't know if it's a percentage or if it's a fixed amount of new building permits in town. So every quarter we get a check from the town based on building permits issued. So last year we were issued around $25,000 in that building permit. Northampton County Fire Rescue, that is actually funded by the town of Cape Charles and then redistributed to different departments on the shore. So our allocation of that was $3,000. Our big fundraiser that we do every year is Toolmania. We had our biggest year yet last year and raised over $60,000. So that is continuing to grow and get bigger year over year. And last year we did around $9,000 for our fishing tournament, which is currently going on as well. Andy?
What about the barbecue?
So the barbecue, what did we do last year on the barbecue?
Sold out pretty quick.
We sold out, but the barbecue, we made about $2,000 on that. We don't make a lot on the barbecues.
I know, but it's just,
It is part of it.
It's another number.
Yep. Fishing tournament was $9,600, and we're going to do about the same for that this year. We're in the middle of that this year. This is the last weekend for that. So last year, we brought in around $241,000. That is up from the yearly average for the past 5 years. So that was $176,000 year over year. The annual contribution from the county, just to point that out, is $75,000. And for FY26, they have upped that to $100,000 this year. So all the departments on the shore get an equal amount from the county. So they did bring that up to $100,000 this year. Operating expenses for last year. Utilities were $3,200. Last year we only had the one loan on tanker 15-7, which is about $11,000, which is still ongoing. Our insurance is $24,000, which we have been told that will go up to $31,000 this year. Monthly dues for websites and memberships that we have around $3,600. Supplies $25,000, and then that's kind of a list of capital expenses for last year. Those are, if we have the money, we buy things that we need. If we don't have the money, we don't buy them. So last year, these are what the priority list was. $20,000 for new turnout gear. So those are the pants and jackets and helmets that we wear. Those are $3,700 a set now. So those continually go up as well. We did put a new brush truck in service, replacing our 1989 brush truck. We had to put a new water heater in. Balance for the skid unit, that's the actual part that goes in the back of the brush truck to fight the fires. So it's a motor, a tank, and a hose reel. And then $3,000 for miscellaneous tools. We had $100,000 that we put towards a new truck. And so the total expenses was $227,000 with a net for the year of $13,000. So that's what we had left over to go back into reserves. So calendar year 24-25, we put 2 new units in service. So with the town's grant, we were able to move forward with a new fire engine, 15-3. So that was put in service. That did replace our 1997 E1 fire engine. In the nick of time, our brakes had failed on the previous truck, so that was taken out of service. Unfortunately, we had planned on getting some money out of that, but it was sold for scrap. So just nothing left in it. The brush truck, Cape Charles Rescue Squad closed last year and converted over to Northampton EMS. And so they had some assets that they wanted to get rid of, and so they donated a 2021 F-250 to us last year. And so that's what allowed us to get a new brush truck in place, and we bought a new skid unit for the back of that. Next page is our priority list. So the first thing we had on our priority list was a roof. We just were able to finish that. We held a fundraiser with the DeLoreans. We ended up raising $31,000 with the DeLoreans. So amazing community support and show out for that. And then the county had excess funds from fiscal year 25 that they did allocate out to the different departments. Each department needed to submit a capital expense that they could spend it on. So we put that $42,000 plus what we got from the DeLoreans towards the roof. So that has been replaced. And then we have the priority list going down. We have some drainage issues in the back of the station, so we're going to get that taken care of this year. Rescue 15, that's the other fire engine that we have, that's our second due. There's some issues with some body supports on the back that needs to be taken care of, so that body has to actually be taken off the truck, and those are replaced. There's some rust issues going on there. I have new SCBA Cascade machine. That is what we fill our air bottles with. So our current machine is 20 years old. It's been failing every couple months that we're having to repair it. We did submit a grant for that this year through Firehouse Subs, so we're still waiting to hear back on that. And then you can kind of look down the list of the other things that we want to do. And I can go to the next page of what we're looking at for grants that will address some of those. Grants in 24, we did receive the $250,000 from town towards the new truck. That did have a total purchase price of $850,000. So with the town's amount and then the $100,000 we put down, we did finance $500,000 through municipal rates. We did qualify since we do cover the town and county. We reached out to Main Street for a facade grant, but we are not a contributing business for that, so we were not able to apply for that. And then the county has a tourism infrastructure grant that is around infrastructure that supports tourism in Northampton County. We did approach them. It's a bit out of the box to approach with that, but they did have some discussion and decided that we did not qualify for that specific grant. So Those were the two we tried last year. So going into this year, we've,
Let me just interrupt there. The facade grant, you may want to try the county, because they have a facade grant too.
so I think we're looking into that with Charlie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To
okay.
see,
I
yep.
sent a note to him, I didn't get a response.
Yeah,
Okay, I can follow up with Charlie on that and see where that's at.
because you get a little bit at least, like, I
Yeah.
think it's like 2,000 or 3,000 or something.
Every bit helps. In calendar year '25, in April, we did get the additional $42,000 from the county in conjunction with the DeLorean, so we were able to move forward with that. In April of '25, we did apply for the Firehouse Subs Foundation for an SCBA compressor, which is $62,000. In May of this year, we've been working with Congresswoman Keegan's office for a couple years, so they have discretionary funding that every year they can apply for things in their district. They have about 15, I believe it's 15 items they can submit each year. So they did push forward with us this year for our extrication equipment. So you would know that probably is the Jaws of Life, the airbag systems that we use if a car is turned over. We can use airbags to lift the car up if someone's underneath. The airbags have been pulled out of service. Those have reached the end of their life, so we don't have those currently. Our extrication equipment is in good working condition. It's certified every year, but it's 25 years old. It's just a matter of time before that equipment does have ongoing issues, or we can no longer get parts for it, and that means it's end of life and we don't have any options. That is all hydraulic operated, so we have hose reels and compressors and hydraulic pumps on the truck that run all of that. So the hindrance there is we have to get our truck close enough to the accident scene to be able to use them. The new tools are all battery operated, they're more powerful, so you just grab them and go. You don't have to worry about hydraulic systems and reels. So we did apply for $130,000 to $150,000 through her office. We don't know where that's going this year. She's unsure with where they're going to be able to do discretionary funding, so we're waiting to kind of see what's going on with that. December of this year, we're applying to replace our SCBAs. So those are our self-contained breathing apparatus. Those are the tanks and masks that we wear. Their expected lifetime is 15 years. Ours are currently 18 years. So that is something we're working with. That is a federal grant through FEMA. Once again, we don't know where FEMA's going to be this year, so we've got to wait to see if they put that out, or maybe they park that under Homeland Security or somewhere else that we can still apply for that. It may just be a little different this year in how we write the grant. So we have 25 packs. Those average about $7,000 to $8,000 per pack. So once again, $140,000. Nothing's cheap in fire service these days. All the tanks were replaced through a grant through the county and town. I believe it was 3 years ago. So the tanks are all good. It's just the backpacks and the masks that need replacing. As I mentioned earlier, Northampton County has raised their contributions from $75,000 to $100,000 this year. And then we submitted for $75,000 from the town for FY26 through the grant process. So a lot of that goes to our general operations. And then if there's money left over after we do our budgeting for the year, then we start looking at those priority list and capital expenses for the year, what we want to tackle next. Going into FY26, some additional expenses we'll have is the $48,000 loan payment for the new fire engine, $5,000 insurance rate increase. And then we are going to have to engage a professional grant writer for the federal grant. We've tried to look at local grant writers that do have experience, but they don't have experience in fire service. So unfortunately, we're going to have to engage somebody that knows how to write a grant for fire service. Yep. So all the ones to date I have done. I've tried to look into the federal grant cycle. Not going to happen. It's just hundreds of pages of what you need to submit and how you need to submit it. So we decided that that's something we're going to have to engage in. So the $4,000 is a one-time fee. If we don't get the grant this year, they reapply next year for $200. So it's not like that's a one-time and done. You've got to do it again year over year. They carry that over until we do get the grant. In years past, there's been about an 85% success rate if our gear is over 15 years old. So pretty high success rate in that.
What about like the AMPDC as far as, I know they're writing grants, at least for Accomack. I don't know what they do for.
So
they're
we,
supposed to do both counties.
yeah, they're supposed to be both counties, but we've had challenges getting, and maybe that's something I'd work with you if you have a contact there in
I'm on
Accomack.
the board now, so.
So, yeah, I can reach out and talk to you and we can sit down and see what we can look at there for that.
Okay. Good conflict.
So going into the last page is just kind of our reserve study. We've managed to maintain with all that we've done this past year, which is a $70,000 new roof, $50,000 for brush truck equipment, an $850,000 new fire truck. We've still managed to maintain a $200,000 reserve. We act like that doesn't exist. That's in a CD. So that is our reserve for our other equipment that is aging. So like our second due engine is a 97. So we expect there's going to be some maintenance coming up on that. We don't expect to replace that. It's got an older engine in it that tend to be long-lived, so we can put some money into that and get another 5 to 10 years. To replace a rescue engine like it is today, sitting today, we're looking at 1.3 million new. So that has a lot more specialized equipment on it than a regular fire engine does. So that's when you get into the extrication equipment and some of that equipment. So that's why we're looking at refurbishing that truck and getting some more years of use out of that, and then possibly replacing the extrication equipment on it. Just a brief reserve study of the other things that we know are coming up that will need some repair. So that money's set aside of a what if at this point we have the money and don't have to worry about how we're going to fund that repair if needed. So I think that's all I've got. I know that was a lot.
Are you all straight with Virginia American Water now that they're fully on board, and as far as rates or usage or limitations?
So what American Water has done as far as like filling our trucks up, they have followed suit with what the town did, where we were not charged for filling up fire trucks. So we fill up at, the only place they'd like us to fill up is at the water tower, which they just put a brand new hydrant in.
Unfiltered, right?
Well, I mean, it's straight off the water tower. Yeah, it's yes, city water. They are not charging us. They've decided that since the town didn't do that, they would follow suit with that as well. We don't use an awful lot of water. We don't have a lot of fires on the shore where we're pulling hundreds of thousands of gallons a year. We may use 5,000 to 7,000 gallons in a month if we're pushing it. So they've been really gracious with that. They've told us that other mutual aids are more than welcome to come fill up there as well if there's a fire in the lower end of the county. Cape Charles is the only place to fill up currently. We have a 20,000 gallon tank across from Stingrays that's well fed, but once that's depleted, it takes a full day to replenish. We do have some, we call them dry hydrants that feed off ponds in the lower part of the county, but those have not been maintained. Forestry is supposed to be maintaining those. They haven't been maintained. The last time we drafted off of them 10 years ago, we burned up a pump. So we don't use them anymore. So we use that tank down in the lower part of the shore, and then we come back to Cape Charles to fill up outside of the town.
Are y'all going to do another event this year?
So generally we don't in the summertime. We're looking at we have a gap from the fishing tournament to Toolmania. And so we're looking at that September, October timeframe, seeing if we can find something to backfill that time frame in there with something. We don't know what, but yeah,
Orange was great.
Yeah, they turned out really well. We actually have had some people ask if we're going to do it again next year, so we may start doing that. That was the first concert we've had in that building since the 90s. So it's good to see that coming back in the community and being a point of community. You know, for people that are newer to town, they used to have roller skating in there. They used to have formal dances in there in the 50s and 60s. So seeing that come back is good to see. So yeah, we're open to anything like that. And just a reminder, that building is open to the community. We don't charge to use that building. We do have to get it approved by the board for each use, but it is open for usage from the public.
I just wanted to thank you. We've spent a lot of time
Yep.
together this past year, and it has been so impressive to see your dedication to the fire company and your leadership, and so impressive to see how many grants you've kind of researched and put
Sure.
forward, and you guys are just doing a really excellent job, and you need to hear that. We really appreciate all you do, and it's a significant difference in your professionalism and how you're maintaining things. So we just wanted to say thank you.
Well, we appreciate it, and as town grows, we're growing as well, and the town has been very supportive of that. We have a lot to protect here these days, and that continues to grow year over year, and we want to grow with the community and be able to support that and keep people safe.
And then how many of you just graduated?
So we had just 3 that just went through academy.
Yeah.
Yep, so that was,
Ryan's
yeah,
one of them.
one of me, the old guy in academy, the oldest guy in the academy. Most of them are 20-year-olds. So that was right around 200 hours of training, so every Wednesday and Sunday for the past 5 months.
That's
Good
a-
for
Yep.
you.
it's an
So,
amazing commitment. Well,
thanks.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
But appreciate it. But we're an open book. If you see anything you have questions on or want more information on, I'll be glad to sit down with anybody and we can work through that and see if we can come up with some answers for you.
It's good to
Right.
know you can carry a 180-pound dummy.
I'll just throw you out the window. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much, really appreciate it. All right, next we have the National Public Works Week Proclamation. Proclamation number 20250515, National Public Works Week, May 18th through 24, 2025. People, purpose, presence. Whereas public works professionals focus on infrastructure, facility, and services that are a vital importance to sustainable and resilient communities and to the public health, high quality of life, and well-being of the people of the town of Cape Charles. And whereas these infrastructures, facilities, and services cannot be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals who are engineers, managers, and employees of all levels of government and the private sector who are responsible for rebuilding, improving, and protecting our nation's transportation, water supply, water treatment, and solid waste systems, public buildings, and other structures and facilities essential for our citizens. And whereas it is in the public's interest for the citizens, civic leaders, and children in the town of Cape Charles to gain knowledge of and maintain an ongoing interest in understanding of the importance of public works and public works and public works programs in the respective communities. And whereas the year 2025 marks the 65th annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association, now be it proclaimed that the Cape Charles Town Council does hereby designate the week of May 18th through 24, 2025 as National Public Works Week, and urges all citizens to join with representatives of the American Public Works Association and government agencies to pay tribute to our public works professionals and to recognize the substantial contributions they make to protecting our national health, safety, and advocating quality of life for all. Adopted by the town of Cape Charles on this 15th day of May, 2025. Day one, we're already getting one. All right, let's check this off. Do we have any public comments this evening?
We have 3 signed up. The first one is Ann Hayward Walker.
Should I come up here, Libby, or?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Gotta go to the microphone.
Okay. So good evening, everybody. I have something I wanted to bring to the attention of, thank you, Mayor, the Town Council, town managers, plural, for the day, and our Chief of Police. So on the record, I want to make you aware that my sister, who lives at 107 Mason, has been stalked for over 2 decades, and it escalated last week. Proof is very hard to obtain. It's really difficult to gain sufficient evidence for law enforcement action. We went to court 20 years ago about, and failed. Mores have changed. Societal mores about women being stalked by men have changed. But I don't feel confident really today that our society community here in Cape Charles is aware enough about this to really act on this. So my goal is really to act we will start making reports whenever something suspicious happens, and my hope is that you will give it your active consideration as a community issue to be dealt with. I ask you to think about if it were your daughter, your wife, your mother, your sister, how would you stand it? You would probably motivate it to action. So the real thing I guess I wanted to also say is what she's experienced is psychological bullying, manipulation, cunning, no guilt or remorse, calculated charm, and superficial charisma. If you put these words in Google, you'll find out the label of the kind of individual she's been dealing with. So one town council member is aware of this. So in your closed session, if you would like to discuss it further, you can do that. So about that, I have a second issue very quickly about the beach plan. I just want to say that the plans that have been shared with the public are conceptual, not practical, so I haven't offered any comments. And I'm just going to be really quick. I really would like to invite the town to make as a priority, or whatever word you want to use, whether it be goal or objective or priority, whatever you say, that efficient year-round sand management has to be part of this plan, not just give a beach for recreation or town use. It has to be efficient year-round sand management. The devil is in the details, and to have a strip where you say you're going to have, access for management to manage the sand really doesn't say how you're going to accomplish that. The access points are wind tunnels. Every time you disturb the dunes and let go of the sand that has been anchored by vegetation, you create the opportunity for that to blow. This year it was really awful. And so there needs to be a year-round way to capture the sand and redistribute it onto the beach. The other thing I just wanted to say, I haven't had to, as you all know, some of you know, we did the beach management plan in 2019. We worked on it 3 years. One of the things that was in there was if we ever had a disaster where our beach was wiped out, if you wanted to go before FEMA for funds, you have to, there's eligibility criteria for public assistance, and the applicant must have an established and adhered to a maintenance program involving periodic renourishment. So this is old. I just went and looked for something that you all, I have another link, but I'm going to give it to Libby. And you just ought to be aware that if there ever is a disaster where we lose the dunes, if you want FEMA to help, and I realize the whole policies could be changing, but if you don't have a maintenance plan, it's the maintenance plan. It's not the beach, the new beach. It's the maintenance plan that I think I haven't seen details on. So, did I make it almost under 3 minutes? That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's the new guy's job.
Sam Jones?
So I'm Sam Jones, and my wife Julie and I live at 538 Monroe Avenue, and I'm here today representing the Historic District Civic League. So you'll forgive me, I'll read my comments because there's lots of words here. So, members of the Town Council, Mr. Mayor, and town managers, having reviewed the town's draft capital improvement plan for fiscal year 26, I write on behalf of the Cape Charles Historic District Civic League to say that we support the $100,000 included for sidewalk infill. We also strongly recommend that this project be classified high priority given safety and accessibility concerns associated with current deficiencies in the historic district sidewalk infrastructure. It is ironic to see handicapped accessible curb cuts that do not attach to any sidewalks, even as we have made accessibility to the beach a high priority. The current classification of low priority basically means sidewalk improvements will occur only if funds are available after all the other projects you've listed occur. You will recall that during the public comment session with the Town Council on the strategic plan update, the Civic League, as well as individual speakers, recommended that the town take action to complete sidewalks throughout the historic district. The Civic League affirmed this position at our recent meeting, supporting sidewalk infill as a high priority for the town's full-time residents and visitors, consistent with your comprehensive plan and the March 2020 recommendation of the town's sidewalk committee. We note that the recommendations of the 2020 Sidewalk Committee address many of the issues surrounding these improvements and believe they are a good starting point for moving forward. You only need to walk around the historic district to see that the north side of the district has been neglected. As a result, we recommend that the town's investment focus on the avenues in the area of town to create uninterrupted walkways. Infill work on Jefferson and Madison Avenues, as well as along Fig Street, will do much to improve the safety, accessibility, and walkability of the historic district. All destinations throughout the town, Madison Avenue, including the library, Central Park, Rayfields, the beach, churches, etc., will benefit from this investment. And to the extent that the town needs to review or change existing policies, the Civic League is ready to participate to ensure progress is made each year. So, thank you much for listening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Reverend Ricky Rouse.
Good evening, Council. I came today just to introduce myself because I'm new to the community. I'm the new pastor at First Baptist Cape Charles over on Nectarine Street, and I just wanted to put faces to names so I would know who I'm talking to when I begin to ask or talk about different things. I come not to just be a pastor on Sunday morning, but a pastor every day of the week, not just for my congregation, but for those who are residents in the town of Cape Charles. I'm happy that after only being there 3 weeks, we were able to have our first community outreach at Kipton Peak Elementary last week for Teachers Appreciation, where we were able to feed all the staff. And we plan to continue to do those kinds of community outreach programs in the days, weeks, months to come. So I'm hoping that we will have the support of council as we begin to want to do some more community outreach activities. And I wanted, like, again, to put face to name. As the gentleman that just came up before me mentioned about the sidewalks, that's interesting he would say that. Outside of being a pastor, my profession is concrete. My family, 26 years, has owned concrete business in Virginia Beach, which is where I reside on that side of the water, actually. But I noticed coming out of the church that there are sidewalks that go nowhere and then pick back up and whatever. So it's just interesting that he would make that point. So I hope that that will be something that will be addressed, and I am more than happy to be of assistance if needed in that regard. All right. Lastly, I wanted to say I've also was happy to find out that historically, Cape Charles was a historically black community. But as I look around today, things have changed, as happens in communities all over the country. But my concern is, as I look around, affordable housing. I don't know if that is a part of what you're looking at doing. Like I said, I've only been here a month, so I don't know anything yet. But I wanted to make that point because seeing a home for sale across the street from the church, $700,000, seemed a bit excessive to me, even though I know it's a great town and it looks great and, community feel, all of that. But growing up in the resort city, I know what that looks like, and I know who are the ones that suffer. It's normally those of seniors and, of course, those who are minorities. And I would hope that there are some plans on the way with all the great development that is happening, not to push the poor, the minorities, and everybody else out, but to make space for them in what is being developed. The apartment complex out near the beach, I was excited to see that. When I first came a couple of years ago, when I first started coming over here, I noticed that has been closed, which I'm sure is going to be some more high development area, which is fine. I just want to remind us the poor we will have with us always. So let's not forget those who can't afford the $700,000, $800,000, $900,000 homes. Can we have something for them as well? All right, that's enough for now. I'll be back again once I know a little more, and I hope to get to know all of you a little better, and we can work together to make Cape Charles a great inclusive town for for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. Any letters?
Yes, I have two.
Okay.
First one is from Dora Sullivan. It says, "Good evening, town manager, mayor, and council members. What makes living in a small town so special and unique is that we are a walking town. We can walk to everything that we need, the doctor, pharmacy, post office, library, and hopefully we can include walking to the old meat land to pay bills or take care of town business." And she's at 117 Mason Avenue. This next one is from Jolie Jones. It says, "Good evening, Mayor Charney, Town Council, and Town Manager. My name is Jolie Jones. My husband Sam and I live at 538 Monroe Avenue in the Historic District and are members of the Historic District Civic League. Recently, Town Manager Hosey suggested that the Civic League assist the town staff with research on some issues of interest to the Civic League. One of those issues pertains to the sidewalks, specifically the lack of sidewalks in the Historic District. I was able to locate the town's comprehensive plan from April 1989, in which the issue of sidewalks was discussed. Similar to today, there were places where sidewalks were non-existent or in need of maintenance. At that time, Cape Charles was the poorest town in the poorest county in the state of Virginia, but the people who wrote that comp plan had great optimism that better days were coming and that there would be funds at a later date for addressing this need. Further research yielded a very comprehensive study by a sidewalk committee presented at the March 2020 Town Council meeting. Members of the committee included Councilman Paul Grossman and Miss Diane Davis. They identified where sidewalks were missing or in need of repair and suggested a 4-year plan in priority order to achieve the goal of having continuous sidewalks throughout the town. They had been unsuccessful in getting a response from VDOT and requested that Mayor Dies contact VDOT. As far as I can tell, nothing further was done with this report. This brings me to the 2025 Town of Cape Charles Community Strategic Plan. While sidewalks are not always directly addressed, by inference, sidewalks are an integral part of the goals and objectives of this plan. Goals related to sidewalks: to retain the small town character of Cape Charles, to enhance the visitor experience in Cape Charles, to meet our residents' expectation for town services. Objectives related to sidewalks: maintain, improve walkability, promote improvements to and additions to sidewalks, identify specific strategies and prioritization for sidewalk infill and provide capital funding as available. Improve accessibility for people of all groups and abilities. In Appendix A, under Transportation, enhance walkability is mentioned. However, in Appendix B, there is no mention of sidewalks, either under Still in Progress or New Items. In the capital project section of the budget works session, sidewalks fall into the low priorities category, even though it would seem that it would fit into the #1 criteria category, health, safety, welfare. Given that sidewalks have been an ongoing concern of this town since at least 1989, I would think that the time has come for this town council to muster the political will to revisit the study that was presented in March 2020. The town has successfully obtained grant money in the past to provide the community trail, rails to trails, etc., as well as managed to have VDOT come and make repairs to existing sidewalks. This is an opportunity for this town council to meet the needs of both the citizens who live in the historic district, as well as the tourists who visit and enjoy walking the picturesque streets of our beautiful town. Thank you so much for your service to our town.
All righty. Public comments. On to the consent agenda, approval of agenda format, approval of, for the minutes, and approval of March 31st, 2025 financial report.
I move that we approve the consent agenda.
So, second.
Is there any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries. Thank you, Ken. Okay, we have no unfinished business. New business. The memorandum of agreement for maintenance of the Cape Charles portion of the rail to trail.
So, Mr. Mayor, as I'm sure you've seen the announcements, we've got a groundbreaking ceremony on the 22nd at 2 o'clock to celebrate the start of construction of that trail. Back in October of 2018, when this was still an idea, the town council was asked if the town would take care of the maintenance of that trail once built from the trailhead here on Mason Avenue out to Route 13. The council approved that at that time. But since then, it was part of a larger MOU, and other parts of that MOU have become obsolete. And so, in order to continue moving forward, the VDOT and the Trails group need a revised maintenance agreement. So I've worked with them to draft an agreement that is substantially similar. The maintenance portion is substantially similar to what was approved in 2018. And so I need you to rescind the 2018 agreement and approve this one. And I would recommend approval.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we adopt the MOU as presented.
Second.
Any discussion on that?
Yeah, just a question with regards to the extent of maintenance. I understand lawn cutting and what have you is one thing, but just how far are we having to go relative to, let's say the asphalt or whatever they're laying down buckles? Are we going to have to then deal with that
Yes.
aspect?
Yes.
Okay.
My question came in, are we going to be able to achieve some of that maintenance with how some of that overgrowth is around it? It's going to be a challenge as far as cutting and maintaining. If you just ride out and look, there's ditch areas that we are not able to mow now. And I wondered if the county is going to help support that, because they have different machinery that can do things that are on a curve kind of doing it. It's not the rail trail, but it's that in that area.
But
And
that's not part of it. She's talking about the ditches right next to the road. That's VDOT maintained.
but nobody takes care of it.
I know.
And I'm
They
just
do it
saying, we're
twice
gonna
a
have
year.
this nice rail trail, and we have a mess, like all the way up and down there. There's
they do it like
several
twice a year.
spots
Right.
that are really, really looking bad. And I wonder, I'm just curious of, and we could, I guess, ask next week, but right beside the rail trail, there's a lot of overgrowth. Are we responsible, is the rail trail going to plant? Are there trees gonna be planted? Is there a plan as far as, I know Jane unfortunately she was leading that effort.
Stormwater retention ponds are gonna be all over the place.
Right, but I'm
That's not
concerned,
planned.
I'm talking about on the right and left of the trail heading out. Right now, if you just glance, the overgrowth is unbelievable. So that's gonna have to come down. I mean, I would think that we want trees to provide some shade as people are using it, but I don't know who's responsible for that.
The town would be. So I mean, they're going to clear the area to construct. So a lot of that overgrowth will go away as part of the construction.
Right.
Maintaining that area is something the town would have to consider.
Yeah.
What is it that you want? If you, in the future, have to purchase a new piece of equipment for public works to
Yeah.
facilitate it, then that's something you may have to do. One thing that we are going to probably have to deal with, and I fought for this, it's not particularly part of this agreement, but we're talking about it. My concern that I've raised every meeting I've ever been to was how we were going to keep golf carts off
Yes,
this path, right?
exactly.
So I fought with the designers tooth and nail to try and figure out ways to put either bollards or landscaping, at least at the points where it crosses the road, And so they've done some of that, but very minimal. But there's nothing stopping the town
Right.
after it's built from going in and adding more if,
Right.
if we feel that that's what's needed. And
Right.
I'm assuming that's probably what you will want to do.
Right.
But then they do it from, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, didn't they do it from the bridge up? They already have
Yeah,
a bunch
they
of
have
those. Everywhere you cross, you've got
Right,
the.
they have bollards up.
Yeah.
Right.
It's one, but
There's more than two of them.
well, but it's still, some of them, where the farmers are, they've got like a parking lot. You can go right in the parking lot and go around if you want to.
Well, and that's another
It's a
reason
deterrent, but it's still
why we
easy to
need
get on.
some landscaping plan, because that would prevent people from coming in kind of from the side.
Correct.
So we're gonna need to have a plan moving
Yeah,
forward.
I agree, but I think you're probably gonna have to wait till it's constructed
Oh,
and,
sure,
and then
sure.
evaluate, you know,
Yes.
how it's being used, where it makes sense to do that. So yes,
Yeah.
I agree. That's something the town's gonna have to look at,
Yeah.
next year after it's built.
Right.
And then once it is constructed, do we bring the county back into it as well? I mean,
For
to be
what?
part of it, as far as maintaining, like somehow either getting money from them or doing something? I mean,
Well, you could try, but that's not what this agreement does.
I understand.
This agreement gives 100% of it to you.
you know,
If you want to try to negotiate something with the county, you can do that as a side agreement.
Yeah.
How far does our responsibility extend? Like,
So it goes from the trailhead at, basically at the hump,
yeah,
out to 13, then it goes south to the light that goes over to McDonald's. So it goes to 13 and then it jogs south just a little bit to the road that goes over to McDonald's. So that's the limit.
It's like 300 yards or something.
Then it stops at 13. So then they're going to put, as part of this project, they will put in a crosswalk on that
Right.
road to get you from this side from.
So we're gonna need to start some conversations with the county on landscaping and shared responsibilities on that as we move forward. I think that's one of the things we can.
but with this, like you said, we're taking on responsibility right now. 100%.
Yes, you're taking it right now.
That's what.
Yeah.
That's what you're voting for now.
No information on what the cost of maintaining this may be
We're
at
doing
all.
most of
Basi-
it.
I mean, it's too late, the ship has sailed. We're
Yeah.
on the hook, but we
Yeah.
don't even know for how much. This-
No, ma'am. I can't give you exact dollar number.
No,
No.
we're already maintaining.
Yeah,
most
we're
of that.
cutting.
We're already cutting it now. We're already doing it.
And
We maintain a lot of Stone Road all the way out,
All the way
out the road
and how
now.
much is that?
It's just part of the Public Works budget. It's not broken out
Okay.
by a line item.
But it's
So then theoretically, this might not be that much more, because
No.
the area we're already talking about.
right.
I'm not so much more worried about maintaining the landscaping or the grass or the weeding. The bigger liability here is what Paul said, if the asphalt buckles, you know, that's, we have to maintain
Right.
all the infrastructure going forward.
And we don't even have the equipment for that kind of.
No, you would probably just, contract that out
Yeah, but
as a
everything
small
else you
job.
should be able
It's
to-
kind of like when we do, when we had the water and sewer, when we had a busted pipe,
Right.
every 6 months, we would contract out to fix all the dug up holes.
Right, exactly.
The other, I mean, Jimmy can add more cameras to this thing on the path.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that when we get to the police budget, yeah?
I mean, that way they have a live shot of it, so when they see a golf cart, they can just go get them. That is gonna be an issue. It's an issue now, you forget the path, they're going straight up 184, which is nuts.
So is there a motion?
Yeah, there is. We
Yeah,
already have it
we already have
second,
a
so call
motion.
for the question.
Oh, that's right. So, any other discussion? All in favor?
aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. All right, 2025 budget amendment correcting a fund appropriation.
So as you heard from Ryan earlier, you contributed $250,000 towards the new fire engine. At the time, I recommended that we appropriate that from the fund balance of the general fund. But we also were going to get extra bang for the buck by having that qualify for the last parts of our ARPA money, that so that we could get all of that, claim all of that money, so that was our intent. We were under the understanding that the ARPA money got booked in the general fund. It's a general revenue. After we did this, I learned from our auditors that they actually booked the money in the capital fund, not the general fund. Therefore, in order for our ARPA reporting to be accurate, we have to amend the appropriation amendment from last year to switch the appropriation from the general fund balance to the capital fund balance. And I've already accounted for that and talked to you about that at the first budget session on May 5th. So the $250,000 is already accounted for as coming out of the capital fund balance and the information I've already presented you. So this is a cleanup item and I would recommend approval.
We have a motion.
I'll make a motion that we approve the presented budget amendment correcting the fund appropriation for the town's contribution for the new fire engine.
Second.
Any more discussion on that? Not hearing any, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. All right, moving on. IT support services, contract extension.
So we've been, we went out to bid a few years back for IT services. We awarded to Inversa Mines a couple years ago, but the contract allows for multiple extensions, so it's time for another extension. We've gotten exceptional service from Inversa Mines. With this renewal, they're upping their hourly rates a little bit, but they charge us so few hours, it's ridiculous. We get a really good value for this, and he has tremendous institutional knowledge of our systems and our history here. So I would request that you approve this amendment.
Are they local? Local, in the sense of where they come from?
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, Javon lives over in Sheridan.
Oh, Sheridan, okay.
And he works for the Broadband Authority.
All right.
So is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
That's your job, Paul.
2-year contract renewal for Inversa Mines for the IT support.
Second.
Discussion, and I'll start it off. So with the new IT, or not IT, but with the new programs that we're bringing in, is that all going to be included with it, or are they going to have another raise once that all gets put online? Or ask for more money?
No, well, we'll talk about this when we get to the IT portion of the budget, but all the new systems will have their own maintenance costs associated with that's part of this annual subscription. We'll take care of that. What Inversa Mines does is mostly takes care of our local systems, the amount of our email servers, our regular servers, our computer, our hardware, that sort of thing. That's what this covers.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Not hearing any more discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Oh, sorry, there we go. I'll wait for the delay, Ken, I apologize. All right, that motion carries. All right, moving on to resolution requesting speed limit reduction on a portion of Old Cape Charles Road.
So I'm really excited to bring this one forward, and I see Steve Bennett's here, and I would like to thank Steve for his help pushing this through. We've desperately needed a safe and convenient way to connect our two major population centers, the Historic District and Bay Creek. And the option that if you live in Bay Creek now, as speaking as a Bay Creek resident, is not ideal. And so people are forced, or not forced, but they are tempted to then just get out on Cassette Parkway, which is just flat out dangerous. What Steve has been able to work with the Homeowners Association is an upgrade to the existing path that is already there on the north side of the Cassette Parkway to make it comfortable and usable. We already have a VDOT crossing for golf carts. In fact, if you notice, the sign's already up. It comes right out the main gate of Bay Creek. You cross over. There's an improved path that gets you over to Old Cape Charles Road, right there by the Rosenwald School. The only hitch to this plan is that a small portion of the Old Cape Charles Road from basically the bottom of the hump to the Cassette Parkway is 35 miles an hour, and golf carts need to be at 25. So we're clearly going to need to have that's reduced anyway, because when Rosenwald comes online, golf carts are going to come and go through there. This facilitates the new golf cart path to Bay Creek, and should you decide ultimately to build the town hall in that area, that would also be needed for that. So, this is a long time coming, and I'm glad to see it come forward and recommend approval of this resolution.
Anyone want to make a motion?
I would like to, but I don't have I didn't bring my iPad, so I don't know if there's a number I have to read or anything. Okay, thank you.
2025 015.
Okay, I move that we accept the resolution 2025-0515, requesting the Virginia Department of Transportation to lower the speed limit on portion of Old Cape Charles Road.
A second.
Thank you.
More discussion?
I need help understanding, once the path gets to Old Cape Charles Road, is it going to cross over to the Rosenwald side?
It doesn't have to. That's what happens now, because the road is 35 miles an hour. It won't have to.
Got it.
Once this is done, they can just get on the road And
go.
and head.
Okay, got it, thank you.
That's great, great solution.
Yeah, yeah,
really
again,
is.
Thank you.
thanks Steve for your work on that.
Anybody else?
Miss it?
We don't even have.
We could
that's
have a chair over here for you.
That's a rhetorical question. All right, so I move for adoption of Resolution 20250515, requesting the Virginia Department of Transportation to modify the speed limit of the portion of Old Cape Charles Road as noticed and forego the reading of the resolution. And this is a roll call vote. Ashworth.
Yes.
Buckholz.
Yes.
Buda.
Yes.
Grossman.
Yes.
Holloway.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
All right, that is unanimous. That motion carries. All right, moving on. Town managers' comments, please.
Not much tonight, Mr. Mayor. I do want to just report one new hire this past month. We were very fortunate to get Ben Gomez, who's now working at the library. So
Oh, I met them yesterday.
yes. So that's a good hire for us. Also, we got a request from the post office. They would like to put signs up in front of their main road there in front of their building on Randolph that limits parking to 15 minutes. So that, people coming to Strawberry Street or to Mason Avenue sometimes park there and residents can't access the post office. To me, it seems a very common sense thing to do. I've already spoken to Chris Isdell of VDOT. He agrees it's a common sense thing to do. We don't think it needs to go to council resolution. I'm just going to do it with a letter, but I just wanted you to know that I'm going to write a letter
that's right.
requesting permission to do that unless you object.
And it's just going to be the hours of their operation, correct? Or is it going to be 15 minutes regardless? Like, if they're not open, why would we?
Can we say that, like,
Yeah.
from,
Except Sundays, or, because are they open on Saturdays, right? Could it
Okay,
just
yeah,
be
It's very limited
weekdays?
hours on Saturday.
Yeah.
It's open till noon.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, we can add that. I'll add that to the letter.
good point,
Thank you.
we need every.
So-
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Are you talking just about on the north side of the street or also on the south side?
Just the north side, just in front of their building.
Okay, because there is an issue with, sometimes Strawberry Street residents have to park because of, out-of-town folks using those parking spots. They do need to park sometimes on Randolph. So I just wanted to make sure that, the south side of the street remains open.
Yes, sir.
All
All right. So, so hearing no objection, that's what I'll do.
That's fine.
The last comment I'll make, I'll just speak to one of the earlier speakers here tonight with regard to the beachfront master plan and the maintenance plan. I just wanted to assure everyone that yes, a maintenance plan is part of the beachfront master plan. So the final deliverable that we get won't just be a design for an upgrade. It will be a maintenance plan for how to maintain it. So that is part of the scope of work.
All right. Thank you.
And that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Any council members have anything this evening?
I just want to mention, the coffees are going very well. Clayton joined me today, and just for those watching from home, the coffees will happen the morning of any regularly scheduled town council meeting consistently. I may put out a notification just as a reminder, but it's always on the books to be at 9:30 to 11. Standard day is Thursdays, although I know in June we're moving to Wednesday because of Juneteenth, and all are welcome.
Thank you. All right, some other announcements. May 26th, town office is closed for Memorial Day. May 27th, town council town hall meeting regarding options for the new municipal building. June 5th, which is a wonderful day because that's my birthday.
Right.
Town council public hearing, FY 26 budget. That'll be fun for me.
That'll be nice for you.
What a great
Congratulations.
birthday
Good,
that
so I
is.
won't be running it.
June 18th, unless she takes me away somewhere. June 18th, town council regular meeting. June 19th, town office is closed for Juneteenth federal holiday. And if there's nothing else, is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, sorry.